and comments. Robbie, please come on again. And basically, here's what we're doing now. By the way, this is not becoming permanently a 2-hour show, in case you guys are like, oh my God, that's a lot of Ted and John. But we are doing it this week. We're taking up the space freed up by the TMI show, which is off the air until the 5th of January. So we're here this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. We will not be here January 1st, New Year's Day, Thursday. But otherwise, we will be here. And so what we're doing is we're doing 2-hour shows. We're doing the normal hour from 9 to 10. Then from 10 to 11, we're doing the call-ins. Please like, follow, and share the show. Robbie West, please come on and explain how you can call in and and we will talk to you on the air and what the rules are and how it works.
Sounds good. So it's pretty straightforward. If you want to have a chance to ask John and Ted a question, click on the pinned link in the comments, either there on YouTube or on Rumble, and you'll click on where it says call in waiting room. You'll wait there patiently. I'm keeping track of who's there by order in which you joined. Please unmute yourself once I introduce you. Make sure that your browser tab is muted so that there's no feedback, and we will go ahead and get this thing started. Are y'all ready for your first call?
Absolutely.
All right, Kat, you are live with John and Ted. Please unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you.
Hi, John. Hi, Ted.
Hello.
I am a Minnesotan, and in regards to yesterday's stuff, just outside of St. Paul, the government is looking to buy a 500,000 square foot warehouse to turn into an ICE detainment center. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm really glad you brought that question up. That story broke, it broke on Friday. It sort of circulated over the weekend. It had this feel of the usual Friday afternoon media dump during holiday season. So ICE, which is basically preparing to become the largest militarized force in the world, literally, has RFPs, requests for proposals out to contractors to build 7 or 8 of these giant warehouses. John and I talked a little bit about it on Friday. Each one would be dedicated to housing between 8 and 10,000, each one, 8 and 10,000 migrants, illegal immigrants, whatever we want to call them, human beings, let's call them that, who are being deported from the United States. They would be held for a number of weeks, sort of like while they're being prepped for transfer. I'm not really sure what logistics have to be arranged with third countries or the countries of origin or whatever they're doing. But anyway, they want to house 100,000 people in these things at any given time. So it shows their ambitions. And I just don't know how you could process that many human beings at a time in any single facility and have it be done with any semblance of humanity or humaneness, right? I just think the scale of it makes it I'm not even going to get into whether these people should be deported or not. That's a different question. But the how matters. And the how it really feels like industrialized human production. And that's terrifying because I've seen sci-fi and I've studied World War II. I don't know. I mean, it's terrifying to me. And it's like one of those, I don't know how the details are going to go awry, but I'm sure it's going to go awry.
Do you
May I
think
add
they're
something to
using?
that too?
Yeah, of course.
One of the things that I think we should be genuinely worried about is the fact that these facilities, these enormous facilities, are going to be almost immediately outsourced to private prison companies, especially one called GEO. That's even more dangerous than having the Bureau of Prisons or the Department of Homeland Security handling it, because GEO does it only to make a profit for its shareholders. And you make a profit by denying people human grade food, you feed them animal grade food, and you deny them medical care. So this is going to be even worse than it would be if we were just locking people up within the Federal Bureau of Prisons.
Do you think they're picking Minnesota specifically due to the quote unquote Somali problem?
You know what? That's a good thought. I hadn't considered that. Yes. probably.
I would
And
think that's part of it,
as a slap at Governor Walz too.
for
Yeah, that
sure.
guy can go.
Yeah, he's got to go.
That
Yeah,
too. And I think
Walz
also
has to go.
I would think also the central location geographically in the United States, like you can get, it's in the middle of the country. You can get people from, nothing is more than a 3 or 4 hour flight away from Minnesota.
Yes,
That's very true. Well, thanks for
Yeah.
your opinions, guys.
Thanks,
Have a
Kat.
great
Thank you.
day.
That was a terrific question. Thanks.
Happy New Year.
All right, next up will be Mr. John Stewart. I don't know if it's that John Stewart, but just in case, you, sir, are live and on the air.
Hello, boys.
Hey,
It's
John.
great to be here. That last question was a little bit heavy. I have a non-heavy question. I was just wondering if either of you have any national parks that are lesser known that you would recommend.
Ooh,
That's a great question too.
really good.
I live about a 15-minute drive from Great Falls National Park, which is about, I'm going to call it 5 miles north of Washington, D.C. It spans the two sides of the Potomac River, on the Virginia side and the Maryland side. The rapids and the waterfalls are dramatic, and it's an absolutely wonderful place to go for quite an easy hike. Most people tend to go to the Virginia side. I actually prefer the Maryland side because there are fewer people there, and it's a longer hike. But if you want to spend just a gorgeous afternoon close to Washington, but in what looks like the wilderness, that's the way to go. Great Falls National Park.
Great Falls. That's a great answer.
That's a better answer than I have. My favorite, you asked for one that's like more, off the beaten path. If you didn't, I would have said Zion is one of my favorites. But Canyon de Chelly in Navajo Nation in eastern Arizona, I think it's one that sometimes people don't think about. And it's really, really, it's amazing. I camped there. There's a tribe of Native Americans that live at the bottom of the canyon, and so you kind of get a sense of what life was like before the Columbian conquest, and for that reason alone, to me, it's worth it.
I would like to jump in on this one too, if y'all don't mind.
Please.
The Little Bighorn battlefield here in Montana. It is.
Oh my God, I've gone twice. That is magnificent.
It is, and what's really special about it is it's one of the only two cemeteries on the planet where the headstones are where the soldiers actually fell. So you can actually go and you can see where the people died. And in the cemetery there, it's full now, so that there's no more interments. They have the bodies of all of the settlers and the soldiers that were killed during Red Cloud's War and also during the Great Sioux War up till the Vietnam period. So it's, if you like graveyards, if you like history, the Little Bighorn battlefield, it's off the beaten path. It's on the Crow Reservation just outside of Hardin, Montana. Highly recommend it.
One more.
I want to add something to that too. There's a modern cemetery at Little Bighorn too, a modern military cemetery. So, and they're still doing burials in it. It's less interesting, but there's also a restaurant across the street from the entrance. It's a tourist trap. It's a tourist trap in that it's a Native American restaurant. I think it's Cherokee, I think. And they've got a gigantic gift shop and all that silliness, but the food is fantastic. If you like buffalo burgers, and they have Native American bread with honey, local honey on it, it's a fantastic place. I've been there twice, once with my son, once with an old friend of mine, a former boss of mine. It's a wonderful way to spend the day, and it's not far from Billings, so you can go spend the day in Billings, which has a lot more to do than you might imagine. First of all, Montana is a gorgeous, stunning incredible place. But secondly, there's so much to do right there that it's really worth a day trip. It really is.
I'd like to add one too. Rhyolite in Nevada, Rhyolite, I think is the spelling. It's a national monument also, and that's I think I've mentioned this to you off air, John, but it's a silver boom bust ghost. It's probably one of the biggest ghost towns in the United States. At one time, it had a population of something like 20,000, or maybe it's 10,000, but 10 or 20,000 people, I forget which. It had its own train, its station. It was a big city. It had banks, real buildings, the whole 9 yards. It rose up quickly in the 1890s, collapsed just as quickly in the late aughts, early teens, and it's amazing. And speaking of graveyards, it has, because it's Nevada and there's no weather, it still has like some graves in the original graveyard that are a cross formed by two sticks tied together like something out of a spaghetti western in the middle of nowhere. It is so weird and cool. I can't even begin. It's about 3 hours north of Las Vegas.
So cool. That's
highly recommended.
So next up will be I Am Not a Cat. So I Am Not a Cat, you are live.
Go ahead. Please mute your tab, but unmute yourself so we can hear you. You are on with John and I.
Hey guys, thanks for the show. Appreciate the opportunity for the call. John, I hope you get your pardon.
Thank you, sir.
And I've got a couple questions for both of you. Either you can pick which to answer. I'm curious as to how you guys met, and then I'm also curious as to what are the largest political or worldview differences between both of your views.
Ooh, I like that question.
Ooh.
All right. Well, how we met is very simple, and I'll let John ruminate on the second part of the question. We both had shows on Sputnik, and John had his show with Michelle Whitty, and I had my show.
Before that, we met. You were a frequent guest on the show that I did with Brian Becker.
That's true. Yes. And so yeah, I was a frequent guest, and that's how we met, right? And then I had my own show, so that's it. And I always knew that I wanted to work with John. And when Sputnik was shut down by the Biden administration, we talked to each other, and I was just like, hey, let's try to figure something out. And we started this show originally with Michelle, and she dropped out. For the record, here we did not. This was not our choice. And we are still friends. It's like no bad blood or anything like that. So that's how we met. John, you want to take the second part?
Yeah, from right off the bat, Brian Becker told me, you got to meet this guy, Ted Rall. He's smart, he's accomplished, he's insightful, he's analytic, and so we would have you on the show. They were very short segments. You might remember they were 11 minutes. So we would do 2 30-minute segments and then 5 11-minute segments, which was a friggin' lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Writing questions for 7 segments. But you would come on, and one of the things that I loved was that frequently the conversation would meander in such a way that it had nothing to do with the reason we brought you on the show in the first place. But you were able to speak authoritatively on so many different issues that I had the same thought. I want to work with that guy. I liked you, first of all, as a person. I was very impressed with how accomplished you were as a journalist and cartoonist. I mean, I consider you as an editorial cartoonist to be a journalist. And I thought, I genuinely like the guy. I'd like to work with him.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, it's like, because when you're working like on something like this, you spend a lot of time with the person, and if you don't like them, I mean, you hear these relationships like apparently Hannity and Combs really disliked each other.
Yeah,
and
they really genuinely disliked each other.
It must have, and I think Combs really disliked Hannity, and because he's Hannity. No one likes him.
Yeah.
He's a really bad person. So I mean, I'm not even talking about the politics. It has nothing to do with it. And so, no, it's important. John, what would you say are some of the space between us politically?
There's not a whole lot of space between us. We may use slightly different labels,
Mm-hmm.
but I honestly can't think of a substantive issue that we disagree on.
You know what we'd have to do I don't think we've teased that out. I think what we should do is do a Rumble Premium at some point where we just spend like trying to look for like maybe like, so how do you feel about capitalism? Or, like go through those things. And then we might be able to find, I don't know if this is, there's I feel like there might be, I don't think there's a lot of space because I think we tend to analyze things the same way and we understand the power structures and what they're after and what they're trying to do and like why they do or do not care about us, the people, kind of in a very similar way, I think.
The Libertarian Party used to have a questionnaire. I'm looking at their website right now. They used to have a questionnaire where you could answer questions and see, if you're libertarian or if you're not libertarian, and it would compare people on the issues. I'm not seeing it now.
But it creates a grid, right?
Yeah, it's a grid. Exactly. So it would be kind of fun to see where we each sit on one of those grids.
Yeah, I haven't done that for a long time. Let's you and I both do the same one, and then we can report back.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Here's one called Blossom Up Political Identity Test. They may charge you though. I'll find theadvocates.org. Where do I fit? Political affiliation quiz. I'll find one. I'll send it to you.
All right, that sounds good. And so just a reminder, if you're just joining us, it's now 10:20 a.m. Eastern time here on Monday. If you'd like to call in and ask us a question, just hit that Discord link in the live chat, either on Rumble or on YouTube. And then you'll find yourself in the call, and then go to the call-in live office. And then producer Robbie West will shepherd you where you need to be. And we'll bring him in a little bit again to remind everyone of the rules for people who are just joining. But all right, Robbie, keep them coming.
So Schmobs, you are live with John and Ted. We eagerly await your question.
All right. Thanks for having me on, guys. Good morning. Amazing show as always. So I guess my first point, I'll be brief because I know a lot of people are waiting too, but what would be your guys' favorite insight into ancient civilizations, including such sites as Baalbek in Lebanon, with such stones as the Trilithon, 800, 1,600 ton stones, or even the pyramids in Giza. I know, John, that you've done a lot of work in Egypt and you've talked about that. I don't know if you've had time to, sightsee at the Giza plateau, but there's recent scans.
Yes.
I don't know if, that's amazing. I guess a quick follow-up would be these recent scans by this Italian team. One of these guys, Filippo Biondi, works with the Italian military, and they're detecting these massive structures possible structures underneath the Giza plateau. I mean, all of this, I guess, is what do you guys make of all of that?
Ted?
I was hoping you'd go first because I was looking up something. So I have a few of these for sure. So in Kyrgyzstan, there's a field of what they colloquially call bubbles. They're these rounded stones covered with ancient petroglyphs, and they're so evocative of the of the ancient people who were there. It's the atmosphere that really brings it home for me. It's like, you're just like you're in this remote field these ancient people who really are not really, it's not well understood who they were, drew these pictures of what might have been Marco Polo's sheep or ibex or something like that with these curved horns. They're just on the ground. You can just pick them up. There's no curator, there's no museum, there's no fence, there's no entrance fee. It's just there. And there's this sense of incredible discovery there. There's also on the border between Afghanistan and Uzbekistan, there's a field. Sorry, actually, this is sort of more like in northern Afghanistan, near Balkh. There's a field where there's a pile of stones, and this is probably not even truly historically accurate, but there's a pile of stones that's supposedly the stones that were placed there by Alexander the Great and his bride Roxanne personally, and in this field. And it's like the legend of it, right? That the world's most powerful conqueror had made it as far east as he possibly knew, that he didn't know that the world existed beyond that point. He thought he had conquered the entire world, and he married this princess who turned out to be, there was no such thing as an Afghan, but we would call her, but basically it was modern day Afghanistan. And the most beautiful girl in the world, and who turned out to be ferocious because basically all of his other wives ended up sort of dying of being poisoned after he married her. It's just the mythology of it. There you are in this field, and the legend is that all the conquering armies never toppled the stones because they all respected what had happened there. I don't know. It's probably not even true, right? But it's kind of like it's like medieval relics, which were, a lot of those stories could not have been true, right? Like the Shroud of Turin's probably not true. But
Right.
I don't know. Those are the two that leap to mind for me. What about you, John?
Yeah, I agree with just about all of it. I don't believe this was space aliens that came down and directed the construction of the pyramids. I just can't wrap my mind around that. I do believe that we have these engineering wonders, these engineering feats that are inexplicable because we've lost the technology of the ancients. Just as a kind of a modern day parallel, I'm a huge fan of the arts and crafts bungalow construction style for houses. My grandparents had an arts and crafts bungalow. My ex-wife and I built one from scratch. We designed it ourselves.
Yeah.
And there's one sort of sub-style where there's a flat roof and a window, right, on the second floor. That architectural engineering has been lost just in the last 100 years, 110 years. It's been lost. We can't design that anymore without water leaking. And they can't figure out, and this is crazy, there have been articles written about it. They can't figure out why they could do it in 1910 or 1920, and they can't do it today without water leaking.
No, that's exactly like
thing.
It's like the famous mosaics in the New York City subway, which indicate like the mosaics that has the name of the station and maybe
That's
a
right.
symbol. Like, for example, Astor Place has the beaver for the Astor family, and
Right.
those things were designed like starting at 100 years ago, like you said, 120 years ago, 110 years ago. And there is no craft person. The MTA can't find anyone who can replicate the quality of those mosaics. They can do sort of a rough version. Basically, it's like we can do low res versions. But in terms of individually cracking the tiles so that they all fit in this beautiful, and there's still some left, you can find them.
Yeah.
But like when they have to go through the wall to fix something, a pipe that's burst or something, they break through them and then they're gone forever and they will never come back. It's not even, money's no object. They just can't fix them. We don't know how to do that anymore.
Another thing too is just in the past year or year and a half, scientists figured out why things built by the ancient Romans are still standing. There are these white little specks in Roman concrete. The Romans invented concrete, right? There are these little specks that scientists always thought were clamshells. They were bits of clamshells. And they determined that they're not clamshells. They're little chips of like gypsum or something like that. And it's that holds or that held the ancient Roman concrete together. And for whatever reason, over the centuries, we stopped using it. And so our concrete lasts 10 or 20 years. The Romans' concrete lasts 2,000 years and is still going strong. And only now we've rediscovered it. So I think there's a lot in ancient Egypt. First of all, I believe that there probably are these massive, things underneath the plain. But they were probably built there, put there by the ancient Egyptians, and we've lost the technology to understand how they did it.
I believe that. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Well, it's like have you been to the English town of Bath, right? Which was the Roman Bath.
Absolutely.
Same
Which
thing,
are
right?
still in use.
They silted up during the Middle Ages because basically people forgot how to clean the silt out, and then they were out of service for I guess 1,000 years or 800 years, and then someone we should clean this shit up, and now they're working again.
Yeah, and it's a pretty cool place.
Great question. All right, so Robbie, keep them coming.
All right. So next up, I can't see your name, but you start with the letter K. You are live. Just introduce yourself, because for whatever reason I cannot see your handle.
Okay, hello guys. I'm Kolegi51. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Sure
perfectly.
can.
We
Yes,
hear
so
you perfectly.
wonderful. So for John, two questions. One, you've told that you're a practicing Orthodox
Yes.
Catholic. Can you talk about that, like your journey with that? And the second thing, you understand Middle East very well. So what would you say is the most important thing that Westerners should understand about Islam?
Wow. Yeah, two good questions. Yes, I'm practicing Orthodox. To the best of my understanding, we've been Orthodox since Paul went to Greece and brought Christianity to the Greeks. Even my 23andMe, and I did a second one with genealogy.com, just shows us in this, for the last 2,000 years, in this tight little oval that includes southern Greece, Crete, Cyprus, and Western Anatolia. So we've been there for 2,000 years. And yeah, I mean, it's important to me. I will say after two divorces, I've struggled with it a little bit, but I take personal strength in reading about the lives of the saints and the desert fathers, mostly from Sinai and the Egyptian desert. I read a lot about them, and yeah, it's important to me. It's growing up Greek Orthodox. The church was the center of our culture, right? Our friends were for the most part Greek, and churchgoers. All the big parties and the festivals and the get-togethers were at church. I had to go to Greek school Tuesday and Thursdays from 5:45 to 7, which for a little kid was an eternity, and it was all very important. I think that what most Americans don't understand about Islam, and I know I'm going to take shit for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway, is that Islam is a religion of peace. It is a religion of peace that has been bastardized and co-opted by radicals who don't understand Islam. Osama bin Laden, as one example, had zero religious credentials, none. He was just a poor little rich kid who took it upon himself to take up arms, not just against the United States and the West, but against other Muslims. So I think that's the most misunderstood thing about Islam, is that if you read the Quran and you understand the teachings, it's a religion of peace.
John, were you, a lot of people have, I recently was listening to Cat Stevens, a lot of people have converted to Islam. Were you ever, I mean, having, when you study something, you get to know it, you find it appealing. Were you ever tempted to not maybe convert, but like, did you ever think like, oh, they're right about this and that?
No, I was never tempted to convert. I'm strong in my faith, but I studied Arabic with two guys who did convert, both CIA officers. One ended up converting back to his father was a Baptist minister, and the agency sent him to Jordan to study Arabic, and he came back a Muslim. That lasted throughout his career. And then after he left the CIA, he converted back and became a Baptist minister like his father.
How did the agency feel about it? How did his bosses feel? Did they care?
Oh, no, nobody cares. Listen, the head of operations at the counterterrorism center, when I was there, not just when I was there, but afterwards, the man who was responsible rather for finding and killing Osama bin Laden is a Muslim. And nobody cares if you're a Muslim at the CIA. I served under two Muslim bosses at the CIA, and they were perfectly happy.
You could see someone wondering, oh, has he gone native? Could he become recruitable?
There was one guy. He was Catholic. He was from Akron, Ohio. I won't say his name. He replaced me in Kuwait. And we were friends. We worked in the same branch together. Our wives didn't like each other, which is more of a commentary on my first wife than on his. But our wives didn't like each other. And he was chosen to replace me in Kuwait. He went into the language training, went to Kuwait, and said, hey, have you ever given any thought to converting to Islam? And I said, no. I studied it. I have a minor in Islamic theology. And but I said, no, it was more of an interest, of an academic interest for me than it was a religious pursuit. And so he said, I'm thinking of converting to Islam. And I said, oh, what's your wife say about that? And he said, I think it's going to lead to a divorce.
Oh, shit.
And I said, buddy, you might want to give that some real thought before you jump in. Well, after he finished in Kuwait, he came back to headquarters for a year and then applied for and was given a position in Riyadh. And I knew as soon as he told me he was going to Riyadh, this was going to be the end of it for him. So he goes to Riyadh and he starts sending these very, very detailed but unclassified cables about his conversion to Islam and his trip to Mecca to make the Hajj. And I knew that he was making them unclassified. He would always start by saying, this is unclassified because there's no operational information involved. I'm just sending it for headquarters interest. I knew what he was doing. He was going to write a book. And he wanted the agency to pay for all of this. So he would write the cables, but leave them unclassified so that he could print them and take them home and then publish them as a book. And that's exactly what he did. He converted to Islam. His wife left him, took their two kids, left Riyadh and went back to Washington, went back to Akron for all I know. He came back at the end of 2 years, published his book on his, odyssey to Islam. And then he resigned and joined the State Department's Foreign Service. So it happens.
Wow.
That's a good story. Yeah, thanks for the follow-up question, Ted. That was very good. And John, also, maybe you should have done something like that. It would help your financial situation today. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Venkatesh. Hey, so just a reminder, we are in the second hour of DeProgram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. We are basically filling in the space vacated by the TMI show this week. And so if you'd like to join us and talk to John and or myself, we are, all you have to do is click the link to Discord, which you will find at the top of the live chat, either on Rumble or on YouTube. And then once you get in there, you click call in live office and we take care of the rest. All right, Robbie, who's next?
Next up is Ali. Ali, you are live with John and Ted. Thank you very much for the call.
Thank you. Hi, guys. So my question was, thank you. My question was, what do CIA analysts do exactly? Is it similar to political analysis? And do you have any recommendations on reading material on how they do what they do?
Great question. So the quick answer is yes, it's very similar to what you see outside the CIA, whether it's in government or in private industry in terms of political analysis. The CIA also does economic analysis and military analysis. Those are the big three. There are other kinds of analysts, but those are the big three. It's all source analysis. So you're reading State Department cables, you're reading CIA operational reporting cables, you're reading NSA intercepts, you're reading something called a DODIR, a Department of Defense Intelligence report from US defense attaches overseas, and you're reading lots and lots and lots of media, press from whatever country or whatever region you are covering. And so you're supposed to be consuming all of this information so that you are the go-to expert on whatever issue it is you happen to be covering. There are several really great books out there. I don't know if I have time to look at them on Amazon, but I can give you the authors. Look for books written by Fulton Armstrong, by Bruce Pease, Pease, by Bruce Riedel, Riedel, and by Paul with an M, Paul. It's going to come to me. But anyway, he's at Georgetown University now. He spent 30 years as a CIA analyst. A lot of these guys, once they retire from the CIA, they write books, but the book is specifically about CIA analytic tradecraft. So it's about how to become a CIA analyst. Paul, what the heck is his name? It's going to come to me eventually. Anyway, there are easily 6, 7, 8 really good books out there that can laser point you in the right direction.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Ted, I'm glad you saw the text I sent you. I tested as a libertarian leftist.
I would not be surprised if I tested very similar to that, because I have always been very partial to libertarianism, but from a left-wing point of view. So, yeah.
I think that there should be healthcare and Social Security, and otherwise I want the government to get the hell out of my life.
Yeah, I think that government should provide the basics.
Yeah,
agreed.
I'll need to do it and see where I pop up on that list. Probably a little bit to the right of y'all.
Please do, Robbie. Please do. I sent you guys both the link.
All right, Mustang, you are live on DeProgram with John and Ted.
Right on. Hey, good morning, John and Ted. Thank you very much for all your great work.
Thank you.
The ethnic cleansing of hundreds of thousands of Serbs by U.S.-backed Croatian leaders was premeditated, according to newly uncovered files revealing the operation's planning. After the bloodshed subsided, Richard Holbrooke, a top U.S. diplomat, assured him, "We said publicly that we were concerned, but privately you knew what we wanted." Could you comment on the genocide that occurred?
Yeah, you know what? I was stationed in Bahrain at the time, and I was working for an ambassador named David Ransom. I had the deepest respect for this guy. He was one of the finest ambassadors I ever had the honor of serving under. And he suspected that something like this was going on, to the point where there was a fundraiser in Bahrain that the Bahraini government was sponsoring, where people could go and donate money that would be sent to the maybe I'm getting a little bit too into. Anyway, there was a fundraiser. The fundraiser was in complete opposition to what U.S. policy was. And so he did it anyway. He went and donated money $100 or a couple of $100. And the station chief pulled him aside and said, Ambassador, you realize that the money's probably going to be used to buy weapons. And he said, I'll never forget it. He said, these people have to have some way to defend themselves. And I remember thinking, Richard Holbrooke should be in prison. And in fact, the only reason why Richard Holbrooke wasn't Secretary of State was because he died before he could be named Secretary of State. So, this is another one of those examples of the utter hypocrisy of American foreign policy that often results in the deaths of innocents that there's not going to be any fallout from. Nobody's going to pay for this. Nobody's going to go to prison for crimes against humanity or war crimes. But that's exactly what happened here. I'm glad that the information is finally getting out there. I really am.
Yeah.
Although certainly not too late for Richard Holbrooke to have been, sanctified, by the press. He's permanently considered to be like a god.
Yeah,
in the
he ranks with George F. Kennan as one of the greatest diplomats in American history who never made it to Secretary of State. And I'm just not buying it. I never was.
To me, he is part and parcel with Tim Russert of Meet the Press when he died. And everyone was like, he was such a colossus. And I'm like, again, it makes me question my sanity. I feel like Winston Smith. I'm like, did you live in the same world that I lived in? What?
His desk was on display at the museum, the Museum of News.
His desk. Wow.
All covered in books and papers and all kinds of shit all over it.
Yeah, it's a messy desk. Yeah.
Yeah.
We all have them. Oh my God, that's amazing. Thanks for that call. Appreciate it. All right, Robbie, let's keep going. And by the way, we have to squeeze in because I did promise we would talk about Trump's contribution, slashing the contribution to the UN humanitarian spending. So, quote unquote, humanitarian spending. Scare quotes intentional. Anyway, who's next, Robbie?
Next up is Venkatesh. You are live, sir. Please unmute yourself. And John and Ted await your questions.
Hello, I'm Venkatesh. I'm from India. And when I look at Mr. John Kiriakou, I'm not flattering anyone, but he literally gives me hope. I kind of have a pessimistic view on humanity, and you, sir, did the right thing. You are the pinnacle of bravery and so on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, I hope you get the pardon. No, hopefully, I'm not an American citizen. Nothing in my hands to email any U.S. attorney or something like that. But I do have a question for you. If I were to start with books written by you, what should the first book be? And a very, very relevant question yet I'm kind of pushed to ask. If you were the National Security Advisor of India, how will you advise the Prime Minister on the growing influence of China, especially China demanding an entire northeast state of India, that is Arunachal Pradesh, calling it the southern Tibet, which is absolutely preposterous. So
yeah, ridiculous.
If you can weigh on that. I know you got shit for the last time you engaged with India, Pakistan. I want to apologize personally. Thank you. Thank you for your work.
Thank you. My first book, The Reluctant Spy, is probably the best place to begin, but it's unavailable anymore. There were 50,000 hardcover copies in the initial printing, and then they printed 100,000 paperbacks, and they've all been sold. I had a few hundred copies, and when I set up my Substack, everybody who joined as a premium Substack follower, I sent one of the books to. And so I don't have any more. And I've been told that they're like $500 on eBay, between $100 and $500 on eBay. So I apologize for that. Another book that I have is Doing Time Like a Spy, How the CIA Taught Me to Survive and Thrive in Prison. It's out there and it's available. And I've got an electronic copy and it's easy to get. The others are very specific books because they were commissioned. One is called The Convenient Terrorist. It's about Abu Zubaydah. I had these, one, two, three, four books that were commissioned about the CIA. I have this book about cemeteries coming out, but I'm in the process of doing a book that's a book of stories that's going to be like the most detailed, deeply involved book that I've ever written. So I'm still piecing it together. That's going to take a little bit of time. Thank you for your comment on my most recent interview with the Indian media. Doggone them, they put me in such a bad position. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. If I were the National Security Advisor of India, I would urge the Indian Prime Minister to engage the Pakistanis in ongoing and deep diplomatic talks to try to defuse the constant and ongoing border situation with Pakistan so that the Indian government can be freed up to address China. I've long said that the Chinese are not, by their nature, expansionist, except where it comes to India. And I have no idea what the Chinese think they're going to get out of this low-level threatening of Indian sovereignty that we've seen. There have only been a handful of skirmishes over the years since the communists came to power in China. There was a skirmish in the 70s with the Vietnamese. It may have even been the North Vietnamese at the time. I can't remember now. No, maybe not. It was just one Vietnam by then. But the other skirmishes that the Chinese have fought have been against the Indians, and people have been killed. So I think that China is it's a genuine foreign policy threat to India, and the Indians should try to free themselves up to focus on that threat.
John, a little bit of breaking news just for people who are just joining us. It's it's about 11 more minutes left in the show. Zelensky is saying that he's asked Trump for 50 years of security guarantees against Russia. Zelensky signals that Trump is open to 15, and we're not clear on what those 15 years worth of guarantees look like. Are they all from the U.S.? Are they from Europe, or is it a hybrid, or exactly what that all means? But that's basically where things currently stand.
I have a question for y'all. I'm going to show my ignorance. So for a country to get security guarantees, wouldn't that require a treaty?
Yeah. And this is what we called, well, yeah, it likely would. This is what we were talking about last week and the week before about major non-NATO status. That's exactly what this is. So it would be the same kind of relationship that the United States has with Australia, Japan, South Korea, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the same exact agreement. Those countries, none of those countries are in NATO, but they get the same NATO-like relationship.
Yeah. But I can't imagine the Trump administration going to Congress and asking for treaty ratification. Not that they would get it, right?
No, yeah, this is going to be, yeah, this is going to be difficult. Can you imagine the Senate voting 75-25 in favor of a 50-year commitment to the Ukrainians?
Or even 15.
No.
I'd be
50.
I'd be opposed to 5 months. Just saying.
Yeah.
50 years is too long. I mean, honestly, who wants to hobble future presidents? Also, I just feel like that's irresponsible, even if you believe in it, yourself, which I don't think Trump does. I think Trump just wants to end this with, as cheaply as possible. And I don't know that I blame him. All right, who else do we have?
But do you want to do the human rights story or one more caller?
We have time for some. Let's get through some calls, and we'll hit the human rights at the end.
Sounds good.
I mean, I don't have a lot to say about it.
So, you are on. I cannot see your whole screen name. So you are on. Please unmute and ask your question.
Okay. Thank you guys. I love your show, John. I hope you get your pardon.
Thank you,
I
sir.
guess my question is more for Ted. You often say that you're a communist or joke. I kind of come from a conservative background to the point where my parents don't realize that Dick Cheney was a neocon. But why are you more in favor of communism instead of like a mixed economy?
Well, I don't think a mixed economy is possible for any length of time, right? I mean, I think if you could maintain that balance, it would probably be ideal if we could figure out a way to get to a Scandinavian model. But as we've seen in recent decades, there's a general, Marxist tendency where his analysis, where he said that capitalism tends towards aggregation and monopoly. We're living that now, right? I mean, we have regulations that are ignored. The gap between rich and poor is increasing. The income disparity gap keeps increasing. Nobody has any ideas how to fix it. I mean, look at the minimum wage, frozen at $7.25 on the federal level since 2009. And it's not even like, and neither party even wants to talk about raising it, right? And it's disgusting. So, I mean, I feel like with communism or socialism, you start with a system that obviously is going to get corrupted and fucked up by human beings, but it has it starts with the basic idea that we're all equal and we're all entitled to the good things in life and that nobody's special. Capitalism starts out with the idea that some people are special and that whoever, you get yours and no one's entitled to anything, and then gets corrupt from there. So, I mean, that's, this the short version. I'm trying not to, use up the whole rest of the show talking about it. But I think for me, it boils down to what kind of society do we want to live in? A mixed economy would be, I think, great if you could maintain that balance. I think it's inherently unstable because what happens is that the corruption of the capitalist side and the free markets ends up gobbling up all the social guarantees. I mean, look at how the Great Society and the New Deal have been eaten away in the last 100 years.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. I guess as a small side question, what are your guys' favorite beers or kinds of beer?
I'm an IPA man all the way.
And I'm a stout guy. I get stout anywhere I can find it, anywhere in the world.
I like stout on a cold day for some reason. I don't know why.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
I like that beer. All right, Robbie, keep them coming. Let's get through them all, and then we'll hit the UN thing.
All right. Next up, same thing. Your screen name starts with an F.
Hello.
I cannot see you though.
Okay. Well, while that's being figured out, do you want to talk about this? I mean, does this really matter much? I mean, I'm not very excited, John, about the these UN programs. I was never a big I don't think USAID did a hell of a lot to advance the U.S. or help the poor. I mean, I think that a lot of these UN programs, humanitarian programs, are just like they get corrupted. All the aid gets stolen. I'm not impressed. And so I don't really care that Trump's slashing it, even though he may not be slashing it for good reasons, or he might be. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. USAID was famously a CIA front over the many years. A lot of information's already been declassified. You can Google it, and even Ted Kennedy complained about it back in the 70s. In the early 70s, like 1971, there's a terrific memo out there about Kennedy complaining that all USAID does is carry out CIA covert operations. There was a piece I think it was in the New York Times over the weekend about the toilet. Did you see this? About the toilet that they spent $1.2 million making this toilet that allowed you to just, take a crap anywhere you happen to be in Africa. And after $1.2 million, nobody uses this toilet. That's just kind of typical of USAID. And if it's not carrying out a CIA covert action operation, it's wasting $1.2 million on a friggin' toilet that nobody's going to use. So, yeah, what? Why is it that other countries succeed? Smaller countries that don't have as much money, the Italians, the Dutch, the Danes, the Swedes, why are they able to go to poor countries and build water treatment plants and electrical grids and hospitals. And, why are the Chinese allowed to pave thousands of miles of highways all over the world and we're not?
Yeah, and then they leave a sign up, at the front at the beginning of the highway that says "A gift from your benevolent brothers in the Republic of Italy." So much better. They do a better job for their propaganda. All right, FFDDZZZ. I'm sorry, you are on the air, patiently waiting. Please go ahead with your question.
Yep, love the show, guys, and John, hope you get your pod. And two-part question. Wanted to ask a question about double agents. So, if you're a case officer and then you discover your asset is a double agent, what do you do? Do you retaliate against them? What do you do? And then the second part of the question is, let's say you're American, you're counterintelligence, you discover a spy. Do you try to convert them to a double agent? So, kind of general information around that subject.
Both very, very good questions. If you have recruited an agent and you realize that he's double, number one, you absolutely positively never let him know that he's a double. Because what you want to do is try to then collect information on him and on the country that he's working for without him knowing about it. I think I have a whole chapter in my first book about this double agent that I handled in the Middle East. It ended badly for him. The last I heard, he's still in prison, and it's been 25 years now. But yeah, it's a unique opportunity to collect intelligence on the bad guys, because at the very least, you'll be able to figure out what they want to know about you, so that you can further, throw some goop in the works. If you realize or stumble upon or figure out that somebody is a spy, it depends on the situation. If it were here in the United States, you immediately have to turn that over to the FBI immediately. And then they would either work to prosecute the person or work to convert the person into a double agent on behalf of the United States. In some cases, you would just expel them. If you find that somebody here is working for, the North Koreans and is not recruitable, you just expel the guy. Or working for the Russians. There are a lot of Russian illegals, what's called illegals here. They're sleeper agents. And every 5, 6, 7 years, we'll break up a sleeper cell. There was one here in my neighborhood a year or two ago, and you just grab everybody and expel them, send them back to Russia. Or you use them to trade for some of your own people. But that's a long way of saying that every situation is unique and has to be handled in a different way.
Thank you very much for that call. That's the last one we have time for in this show. But don't worry, we're doing this again tomorrow. We have one more ad to do, and then we'll let you guys go. All right, some housekeeping. We are here again tomorrow, Tuesday, December 30th. At 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern. The first hour is the usual show. The 10 o'clock, the second hour is going to be the call-in segment of the show. Please like, follow, and share the show. Thank you so much for your donations on Rumble as well as on YouTube. We appreciate those, even if you're watching on streaming. It helps this show keep going. We're going to go ahead and do this ad and then call it a day. Did you know the biggest threat to your retirement is not something that's talked about often? Our increased longevity in America means default retirement accounts like IRAs, 401ks, and TSBs may not suffice. If you have over $100,000 in your retirement account, get instant access to a free 2-minute report from Augusta Precious Metals that reveals the one step you can take to secure your financial future. Text SAFE, S-A-F-E, to 35052 today. And also thank you to Mustang Renegades, now a monthly supporter. I think that was you waiting for the last to make one more question. And if so, please call back tomorrow earlier in the show and we will definitely get to you. John, always a pleasure. See you.
Good to see
and
you,
I'll
Ted.
take that.
This was fun.
I'll take that test and let you know what it says. I'll see
And
you.
Robbie too.
All right. See you guys tomorrow. 9 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. Thanks for everything. Bye.
Bye, everybody.